Hello, it's Ernesto. Welcome back to another video. If you're new around here, I'm a film composer and I make these videos to document my career as one. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, consider subscribing. But today we have something a little different. I'm going to show you what I have on my Mac, specifically my 2021 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip, 32 gigabytes of memory, 1 terabyte of storage. It's got the works, and I'm really lucky to be able to have it. All of the apps that I use that I'm going to show you, I use on almost a daily basis and are really important to the way that I work, making these videos and making music. So there are a lot of apps. I'm going to leave chat marks in the description of this video, and this is broken up into 3 categories of apps: creativity, productivity, and utility. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, the number 1 app to me on my Mac is Logic Pro. Logic Pro is the digital audio workstation, or DAW, that Apple makes, and this is what I use to score movies and TV shows. This is so important for me to have. I will not update systems just so that nothing breaks in Logic, as I need to use it a lot and gets to be pretty high stakes. So this is my ultimate template. This has pretty much every track that I use when it comes to scoring movies. Let's see how many tracks are in this. There are 334 tracks in this template, and it does grow when I'm in the middle of a score. So that's Logic. The next app on this list is another Pro app. This is Final Cut Pro. This is the editing software that I use to make all the videos on this channel. I've been using it since the very beginning of this channel. This is the timeline of the last video I just put out, which you can check out over here. I'm in the middle of making my first soundtrack album, so do stay tuned for that. But I love the way that Logic works. I think it's very intuitive. I am very comfortable with it, and it's just perfect for my needs. Next up is my notation software of choice, which is Dorico 4. Dorico 4 just came out as I'm recording this 2 days ago. Before that, I was using Dorico 3.5. I love this piece of software. I think it's fantastic. And as notation softwares go, this is pretty new, only 5 or 6 years old at this point. This is how I put together scores and sheet music. And recently, this is what I use to put together the parts for recording session that I had, recording a score that I did. So if you want to check that process out, I have some videos up on my channel about that. Next up is an app called forScore. forScore was originally on the iPad and is an app that is dedicated to holding sheet music. I use forScore to study scores, so classic orchestral scores from people that I admire. For example, let's look at some Bach. This is Bach's invention number 4. And recently, forScore just put out this ability to be able to sync scores through all your devices. So whenever I am browsing the internet on my Mac, I can drop in a score that I want to look at for later into forScore here, and it'll sync to my iPad, and on my iPad I can take the time to actually go through it and learn. So I really love this app, and I hope to review it in the next few months here pretty soon. The last few apps in the category of creativity are the Affinity suite of apps. So I really disliked paying for a subscription for Adobe's Creative Cloud, so I tried as much as possible to replace Photoshop and the likes with other kinds of software. So I use Seraph's Affinity line of applications. Affinity Photo is how I make all the thumbnails for this channel and how I edit photos. Affinity Designer if I have to ever make vector graphics. And Affinity Publisher is for printing like actual sheet music. I'm coming out with some music that I plan to sell on my website, and I'm going to run it through Affinity Publisher to make sure that it's all laid out nice and well to make it sell quality. So those are my creative applications. I use those apps to create things, the videos on this channel, to write music. They're very important apps to me, and so that's why they all take top billing here in my doc. Now on to productivity. There are a few apps that I use to make myself productive and keep myself on schedule, make sure that I know what I need to do. Just a few simple ones. Calendar, the built-in calendar that comes in with Mac OS, because it syncs perfectly to my iPad and my iPhone. So I'm always keeping track of what I need to do during the day. Reminders, again, super simple. It syncs with all my devices and lets me know what I need to actually do during the time allotted that I have on my calendar. Notes, if I just need to write something down, take some notes, whatever is important for me, and it again syncs to all my devices. And lastly, I use Notion. Notion is my project manager, basically. So for example, in Notion, I manage my YouTube videos, scoring projects. Here is an example. This is a Notion page that I created based off of a template that I made for scoring media like shows. And this is a short film, a 45-minute short. I needed to keep track of the music that I was writing for it. And there are formulas set up that tells me how much music I have to write, and it tells me how much is left as I check each cue off. I have a whole video dedicated to this up on my channel. I suggest you check it out. This is how I use Notion to score movies. This is a super important app. I don't think it's good for like menial tasks that you need to do on a daily basis, but for managing a complicated, large project, I think this is a phenomenal app to use. And again, I have it on all of my devices and it syncs just well. So on to utility. Now, for my utility apps, almost all of them come from one app, which is called Setapp. Setapp is a subscription service. I think it's about $10 a month, and you get access to all of the apps that they have on there. I think if you're a Mac user, this is really, really good. They're not sponsoring me, but Setapp, if you're out there, hit up your boy. So even though they don't sponsor me, I'm going to leave a referral link in the description. So if any of these apps seem appealing to you and you want to try Setapp, you can hit that link and then we both get a month for free. So the number one utility app that comes from Setapp is Bartender. You see up here in my menu bar that I only have a couple things here, and hidden behind Bartender, I have the other things that would be cluttering up the menu bar anyway. And I think this is such a useful feature because this can get really, really big and lets you hide annoying menu bar icons that just don't have a preference for going away for some reason. So I think it's an absolutely indispensable application, Bartender. Next up is Clean My Mac X. So on my last computer, I had to use this a lot because memory would fill up a lot and it would fill up with storage and whatnot, but I love Clean My Mac X. I can free up some memory if I ever need to. It just gets rid of old cache files and things, so it really lets me use this thing. I can test my internet speed, looking pretty good. It lets me really go into all of my files, see what's really big. It tracks viruses and all of that, and really great application. Comes with Setapp, but MacPaw, if you're out there, hit me up for a sponsorship because I really love your app. The next app that I use a lot is Permute. Permute is a simple app. It will change one file into a different kind of file. This is so useful when I need to convert a WAV file to an MP3, if I need to convert an HEIC picture to a JPEG picture because a website won't allow it, if I need to change something from a JPEG to a PDF, all kinds of permutations of a file type you can use in Permute, which is fantastic. Another app that the maker of Permute makes is Downie. Downie lets you download videos from the internet. I use that a lot, especially when I make these videos. If I need audio, sometimes I'll download a video from the internet, then run it through Permute to change it from a video file to an MP3 file, and it's wonderful. Another app that I use a lot is Paste. Paste is a clipboard manager. It just keeps track of everything that I copy and lets me see everything that I've copied in the last, I don't know, week or so. I think that's what I set it to. So if I ever need to reference something that I can't remember where it was, it's super easy to just paste something. I can copy something in a sequence and all of it appears as I need to so that I don't have to put it somewhere and then grab it and blah, blah, blah. It's just, get it. I think it's super useful. By the way, check out my IMDb page. I'll link it below. The next app that I use a lot, and in fact I'm using it now, is Capto. Capto is what I use to record my screen, especially when I'm making these videos. It's great. It works really well. Has a ton of really great features. I think you can edit video in there. It's not what I use it for. I use Final Cut for that. It also allows you to route audio to it from a DAW like Logic Pro so that when I play something back in Logic, you can actually hear it. And so it records computer audio really well as well. The next utility app that I use is TripMode. TripMode keeps track of all of your internet traffic. For example, looks like Backblaze was just working about 45 seconds ago. And say you're tethered to your phone as a mobile hotspot. You probably don't want your Mac syncing to iCloud while you're on cellular, so that'll prevent those kinds of things from happening, just whatever you're using the internet for, rather than doing all the background things eating up at your data. So super useful function. It should be built into the OS. Next app I use is Gemini. Gemini is just an application that looks at all of your files and will notify you if it sees duplicates. So it'll just let you know that there's a duplicate file that's found. That's super useful sometimes, and just lets you delete the duplicate super easy. Super useful just to prevent cluttering up your Mac even more. So that's it for all the Setapp apps. I use quite a bit of them, but they're all so useful in all their little ways. Another app that I mentioned earlier was Backblaze. Backblaze is a backup internet service. I'm trying it out right now, so I'll report back to you if I like Backblaze, but yeah, I'm on a trial, so I'm not going to speak about it too much right now. I do have a physical drive as my Time Machine drive, but it's good to have an off-site duplicate of your files too, because the files that I have on here again are super important, and it'd be a disaster if I lost both the files on here and the files on there. Two more apps that I like to use that don't fall under the creativity, productivity, or utility categories, just throwing out for fun. Apollo is a Reddit client. I'm able to use it because this is an M1 Mac, but this is my preferred Reddit client on my iPad and my iPhone. I think it's a great piece of software. And Overcast is my preferred podcast player. I don't use the Apple Podcasts app. I prefer to use Overcast because of its features, and I really like that it's on the Mac now, at least on the M1 Max. So that is everything that I use on my Mac. For some of these apps, I don't know how I would function without them. So hopefully you got something out of this and discovered an app or two that might help you out. Again, the Setapp link will be in the description. I'm not sponsored, by the way. The only thing that I'm getting out of it, if you choose to sign up, is you get a month free and I get a month free. So it's a win-win situation. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about in this video and you want me to go a little more in depth on something, then do let me know in the comments below and I'll be sure to get back to you. So until next time, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Ernesto Composer. You can visit my website at ernestocomposer.com. Thanks so very much for watching, and as always, take care.